Uh, Assalamu alaikum everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're all good. You might have noticed that you guys aren't able to talk right now, but you can still type in the chat or raise your hand. How we are going to go about this session is that we are going to cover uh, one a part, and then after that part, I'm going to open the voice chat and everything, and then we can communicate and have some question answer session, and then we are going to move on to the second part, third part, fourth part, and then finally we are going to discuss some uh, a paper, and according any other requirement that you guys might have, we can incorporate that into our uh, our workshop for tomorrow. So I'm always open for suggestion. All right. So you can see the screen, but okay. Let me just first turn on the. All right. Some students are still joining, so that's fine. So are you able to see the screen? If you can type in the chat if you can see the screen carefully. All right. Good. Uh, okay. So let's. Should we wait a couple of more minutes? But it's okay. I'm recording it anyway, so we should start. Let's not waste any more of our time. Uh, this session is for written examination. Global perspective 04572069 campaign. Did someone raise a hand? Okay, never mind. So before we start, yes, uh, I want to just give you a brief description that what to do about the topics. Okay, so at this point, we you should have some know-how of majority of the topics, because I believe that the teachers who are teaching you must have given you some resources concerning some topics. But of course, 22 topics are something that sometimes aren't always covered. So for the topics who you believe are you still do not have any know-how of, just do these do this practice. You take the topic, read any three articles on the topic on Google. Articles, not ChatGPT, but articles. Think about the causes, consequences, impacts, because that's where your questions arise from. And then of course the solutions and course of actions. This will cover your last question. Basic basic terms you can have a look at. For example, there is biodiversity, there is industrialization, there is uh, rural urban, this urbanization, these simple terms, but you should know them, because if you don't know them in the examination, then it can be of some issue. And then think of its relation to the real world. Think of the relation of these terms to the real world. All right. Now, uh, we are going to use a sample paper for our uh, to basically for our frame of reference as we go along all the questions. Now, up till 2024, the pattern was different, but the pattern we are going to discuss for today is the pattern we are going to discuss for today is basically for topics, for questions that are going to be from 2025 2025, 2026, 2027, up till 2028. All right. Now, the first question that is always an identification question is uh, based on identification of some information, and that information is of three types. Either it is some numerical data, or it is some factual information, or the examiner is going to ask you about a trend. Now, the trends are only of three types. It is either increasing, either decreasing, or constant. Okay. For example, how many people suffered malnutrition in 2022 according to source one? 200 million. This was easy. Now coming to the types of statements part. This is the part which in which students usually get confused a lot. Why? Because the types of statements before they used to be six, now there are 10, and students aren't always comfortable with identification, and they also mix up the definitions. For that, uh, we have we will try to rectify that in this session. But first, we need to know, okay, how this question will be asked. You will be asked to identify. You will be asked to identify a statement, and then you will be asked to identify. Then you will be asked to explain why the statement is such. Yani, okay, so if it's a prediction, why it's a prediction. If it's a fact, why it's a fact. If it's a generalization, why it's a generalization. Now, the answer is obviously two parts, but it's the second part where students mess up. The first part is identification, and the second part is that you define the statement and then relate the definition to the identified statement. If you do just one of these things, you will not, or you might not get full marks. You should cover both things. What do I mean by that? Let's take a very simple example. Oh, let's take a very simple example. Where is the okay? This question. Give me 1 second. Right. So, yeah, let's take a very simple example that identify one example of generalization from source 2. Explain why the example you identified is the generalization. Simple. So, identification is very simple. When people come together and demand change, extraordinary things happen. That's the identification part covered. Now, coming to the explanation part. The statement claims that when people take action together, okay, this is slightly annoying. Okay, so the statement claims that when people take action together to create change, things happen. You know, extraordinary things happen. But this is not always true because sometimes demanding change does not work. People in power sometimes don't listen or agree. And then he goes on to define it that a generalization is a claim that something is always true, even though that isn't so. So this can work both ways. You could either define it first and then explain the relation, or you can explain the relation first and then define it. All right. But in this case, the person has explained the relation first, and then he has defined it, and this is how you can get full marks on this question. All right, we will do more examples of this in a bit. Okay, so now comes the big question. Okay, how many statements currently are out there? If I'm missing someone, just missing something, just remind me. So there is fact. Okay, so first statement is fact. This is very simple. आमतौर पे students don't commit any mistakes in this. A statement that can be backed by evidence, that's fact. और a statement that can be proved, that's a fact. आइडेंटिफिकेशन इसकी और भी ज़्यादा सिंपल है. आमतौर पे न्यूमेरिकल या कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ दी जाती है, तो दैट्स वेयर यू बेसिकली you can easily identify a fact, right? Then comes the opinion. Opinion is, while itself important, sure, but opinion is also a type of statement that gives birth to a lot of types of statements. Value judgment is an opinion. Generalization is an opinion. These all are one way or another related to opinions, but it's fine. You can just focus on opinion on right now. That anyone's point of view about something, about a particular thing, and it varies from person to person. Now, this is a very important thing. That opinion can be very simplistic. For example, I think vanilla is the best flavor of the ice cream. That's an opinion. Uh, I think people shouldn't be. Everyone decided to join me late today. There. Now comes the next part, which is prediction. Prediction, identify karna, it's very simple. However, students do uh, struggle with defining it, and जो struggling part है वो क्या है, that they use the word predict to define prediction. When you are predicting the future, now that's a very catastrophic mistake. You cannot use the word to define the word. So when they say uh, when they are asked to define prediction, they use the statement like, when you're predicting the future, then it's called prediction. That's wrong. You will not get marks for that. So this is just one definition. Forecasting something about the future, it may or may not come true. You can, any definition that covers uh, or that is even slightly relating to this is perfectly fine. Okay. Now the next statement is value judgment, the single most complicated to identify statement for students. It is the statement where students commit most mistakes. Definition इसकी फिर भी याद हो जाती है, a statement about rightness, wrongness or importance of something based on someone's personal views and it cannot be verified. That's the definition. But इसकी identification का बहुत बड़ा मसला है. And someone asked me, I'm going to make a note here basically. I forgot last time. Word bank for value judgment. So I'll share that with you in the tomorrow's session. Did someone have a question? Okay. Can we write the definitions in? Yes, you can definitely write the definition in your own terms, in your own words, as long as they cover all the requirements. G, continue. Taha. I'll let you guys talk after we finished with question number one. Okay, fine. Then comes bias. Action. अब तक जितनी स्टेटमेंट्स हमने डिस्कस की हैं दे आर ऑल गोइंग टू बी स्टेटमेंट्स, यानी you are going to identify a statement. But the next two, bias or vested interest, these are when a question about a bias or a question about a vested interest would come, it would not come in the form of a statement. It would come in the form of an overview of a person's POV. They are going to ask you, okay, why might his opinion be biased? And for example, let's say in source 2, there is a researcher who is doing research on, let's say, the impacts of meat industry on climate. So if that researcher is a vegetarian, then obviously he is going to be biased against the meat industry. Are you are you getting my point? I mean, I'm just yeah, okay. So जब भी आपसे बायस या वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट के बारे में पूछा जाएगा दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क यू अबाउट अ पर्टिकुलर स्टेटमेंट कि जी कुछ स्टेटमेंट बताएं कि जी बायस हो या कोई वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट, दे आर गोइंग टू आस्क यू अबाउट a person's overview, that why might his opinion be biased, or can you identify any vested interest in that person's point of view, or can you identify an example of vested interest from this source. How you are going to identify is basically is for bias you have to look at that person's past, and for vested interest you have to look at some future interest of either that person or someone's someone near to them. One more thing is that uh, bias and vested interest is also something that overlaps a lot. ये दोनों चीजें एक दूसरे के साथ ओवरलैप भी हो जाती है. Yes, Arham Kamran, go on. You can type the question. Or you can wait till we are done with question number one. It's okay, fine, no worries. Okay, now coming to the next cohort of system, I've also created this playlist for you. You guys can always review all these statements through this playlist. Now, what is generalization? Generalization is a statement that suggests that some this is a statement that suggests that something is true all of the time when it is only true some of the times, or a statement that looks to make broader claims about an issue or a problem that is only limited to a small sample. The first definition is easier to follow, both are correct, both will get you full marks. But just I added one definition, so that you understand what this means. Basically, जनरलाइजेशन में हो क्या रहा होता है कि you are एक generalized claim, uh, drinking juice is good for you. Now, what juice and what do you mean by good? Is it healthy? What if the juice is too sugary? If you drink too sugary juice, that's not too good for you. Or something like, if you work hard, you will succeed. Is that true for all the people who work hard? A laborer works very, very hard all day, he doesn't succeed. So these are the types of claims which are generalizations. And just remember the definition. Definition बड़ी simple सी है. uh, जो पहले वाली definition है वो ज़्यादा easy है, and people always uh, mess up generalization की definition. Just remember that statement that suggests that something is true all of the time when it is only true some of the time. अच्छा, वैल्यू आजकल बहुत आ रही है. This is something which is coming a lot in the recent papers. Value and claim, both. The most common statements that are coming nowadays are value, claim, generalization, and prediction. These four were repeated in multiple papers in uh, 2025 and 2026. Now, before you guys ask, is that 2026 में तो पेपर हुआ ही नहीं. हो चुका है बेटा, मार्च 2026 में इंडिया में एक ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव का पेपर हो चुका है. अच्छा, now what is a value? A value is a moral or ethical principle of right or wrong, fair or unfair, important or unimportant, applied to a person's opinion about a given issue. People usually feel very strongly about their values, and the identification principle of values is same as value judgment. यानी जिस तरीके से आपने वैल्यू जजमेंट आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं उसी तरीके से आप वैल्यू आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं. बेसिकली वैल्यू जजमेंट एक स्टेटमेंट होती है, और उस स्टेटमेंट के पीछे जो प्रिंसिपल होता है उसे वैल्यू कहते हैं. नाउ आई हैव अ फीलिंग कि दिस इज अ स्लाइटली डिफिकल्ट definition. So let me create an easier definition for you guys. Alternative definition of value. So the value is basically the stance. Okay, uh, let's relate it to value judgment. A stance about rightness, wrongness, or importance of something based on one's personal beliefs cannot be verified. All right. Now, why I have created this alternative definition? Definition, because it is very closely related to this definition. Instead of a statement about rightness, wrongness, or importance of something based on personal views, it is a stance about rightness, wrongness, or importance of something based on personal views. And it is correct. You will not lose any mark if you define it like this. Okay. Moving forward, वैल्यू जजमेंट और वैल्यू का जो रिलेशन है वही क्लेम और assumption का भी रिलेशन है. क्लेम काफी कॉमन है, like I said, it has in recent papers. A statement that asserts or declares something to be true or accurate without any evidence or proof. Or assumption is a statement that is believed to be true without any evidence. Both are basically once again overlapping. No difference between them, but definition में थोड़ा सा different है. Claim कैसे, जैसे for example, if women come into leadership, they can lead a country better. Now, this is a claim. We have no idea whether or no uh, data to see whether this is true or not. So, whenever a claim is presented or a statement is presented, which is not, which basically uh, asserts something without any evidence or proof, then it is called a claim. All right. So for types of statements, if you have any question, you can ask right now, because I don't want you guys to move forward without.
सर क्लेम और जनरलाइजेशन में कंफ्यूजन है.
Okay, so beta generalization में तो the question would be कि you are asserting something to be true all of the time na. As for example, uh, if you work hard or something, like let's say कि if you eat more you will get fat, but you can see that there are many people who eat a lot, but because either they have some genetic advantage, or they have uh, let's say uh, they exercise a lot, they do not get fat. So that's generalization. Claim would be something like a let's say uh, Pakistan has the best form of hybrid government. Now, that's a claim. Pakistan does not have a very bad have that, but still, just a claim. Hybrid government का claim बना रहे हैं आप, and there is no proof to basically back it up. Even something like a countries uh, without countries without women participating in job market always suffer economically. So yeah, this is a statement that can be both a claim and a generalization. But in majority of the cases, the difference between a generalization and a claim will be that claim would be asserted without any proof, while generalization would be a statement that someone is saying okay, it claim might not be true in any instance, while generalization would definitely be true in some instances, but not true in all instances. That's the main difference.
सर एक पेपर में कितनी स्टेटमेंट्स आती हैं?
One, maximum two.
ठीक है सर. और सर जनरलाइजेशन इनमें से वो कंपल्सरी है ना?
No, no, not anymore. It was till 2024, but not anymore.
ओके सर.
Can we quote an example in part B, second part? No, you do not need to quote an example. You were already going. You will already be asked to identify. जो चीज जो स्टेटमेंट आप आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे उसी को रिलेट करना है आपने अपनी डेफिनेशन से. आपको क्या कहते हैं, अपनी तरफ से एग्जांपल कोट करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. जी अरहम रबानी, गो ऑन.
सर isn't wouldn't that be the case कि जो statement assumption है वही claim भी होगी?
Yeah, yes, that's true actually. Yeah, that's true. That's right. Yes, Taha Yasir, you can use that definition as well. That's also perfect. No issue. Ji. Okay. So I guess we can move forward. Do not talk when I'm talking. All right. Now comes the question in which students lose many marks, and in many students, in many cases, even if they are doing a good job, they might not get 6 out of 6. Why? Because they have not covered all the corners. It's called the perspective questions. Students, एक तो students are losing a lot of marks की जो main वजह है वो ये है कि students की approach गलत है. दूसरी ये I don't know कि why they have not still corrected it कि Cambridge का जो let me show you na, basically what I'm trying to talk about. Where is the okay? Where is the marking scheme? There's supposed to be yeah, all right. So the what am I doing? Yeah. So this is the marking scheme for uh, perspective question. It is not only vague, it's It also does not properly guide students what to do. I don't know why, who made this marking scheme, but that's not how you're supposed to answer this question. पता नहीं है, I don't know. Sometimes Cambridge does mess up a lot, but this is a mega mess up कि आप marking scheme में एक ऐसी चीज डाल रहे हैं which is basically incorrect और misleading. Incorrect चलो मैं नहीं कहूँगा, but misleading जरूर, because consequences, advantages, disadvantages, all these things can be part of a perspective, but they do not cover the entire perspective. That's the problem. We are studying global perspective. How can they make such a mistake? But चलें, कोई बात नहीं. We will focus on what's up. Now, गलती students के साथ, the mistake students are making is that they just try to rephrase and regurgitate the source, और वो समझते हैं कि then that's it. That's the perspective. This is wrong. That's not how you are supposed to do it. What you are supposed to do is, these are the things that you should do. These are the things that should be in the marking scheme actually, which is their point of view, which is their motive. By motive mean what they are trying to achieve, what are their values, uh, what can be the advantages and disadvantages of their action, the consequences and impacts of their actions, who are they in favor of or against, is there any bias or vested interest in their overview, and you can always, this is just a tip basically, this is a tip basically. Oh, what did I just do? What just happened? Yeah. This is basically a tip. Okay, you can always take a statement or two from the source to strengthen your point, to put further elaboration on your point. When we go to the sample answer, we are going to cover this as well. And then, of course, what they are trying to achieve, basically, this is something that does overlap with their motive. So you can just mention one of these. Okay. Now, let's have a look at this source. This is basically from this paper. I will send the recorded lecture where you want. I mean, I don't care. You can you email, whatever, depends upon where you want. Okay. Now, this is the source. Take a couple of minutes to read the source. So moving, should we move on to the sample response? Okay, so let's move on to the sample response. This is a response that will fetch you full marks. Okay. The food charity campaigns against world hunger and wants to help people who do not have enough food. Now that's their aim. That's their aim. This perspective is based on the values supporting justice and human rights, and the importance of compassion and care that we should have for others in need. Now we have discussed their value. The charity wants more people to join their campaign to act on food poverty. This is their one of their aims. There can be multiple aims of the same entity. Now, join us. Oh, join us and bring hope to the hungry. Support our program and help millions every year. Now, this is us using their statement to further elaborate our point. is a quote that shows their perspective very well. The charity supports the United Nations World Food Campaign to help starving people. They also want us to protest and encourage governments to end hunger because global problems like the pandemic are causing food price inflation and greater shortages of food. However, in making more people join their organization, there might be some vested interest in there as well. Like they're asking more people to join them, which means that there will be more funding for them, more charity amount for them. So that's some vested interest. There's a hint of vested interest, so you can always mention them. And I forgot this. If they are successful, many people's hunger issues can be resolved. Now, this is an advantage of what they are trying to preach. So this is, you can have a look at the source once again, that just once we have used their statement, but apart from that we have not repeated anything that they have said. We are just giving their perspective, and if you repeat it, if you just regurgitate what they're saying, that's where you lose the marks. There are some questions. Yes, go ahead please.
सर इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हम एंड पे बताएं कि ये जो सोर्स है या इसका पर्सपेक्टिव है या बायस्ड या वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट है, क्योंकि कभी कभार हम आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाते या फिर
If
होता
you
नहीं है.
again, the points, these points, you are not supposed to, no source is going to have all of them. A source is going to have 4 or 5 of these, right, at max,
सर
right? For example, जो अभी हमारी जो करंट सोर्स थी उसमें कोई हु दे आर इन फेवर और अगेंस्ट कुछ नहीं था, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी. So yes, while in majority of the cases there going to be some bias or vested interest, it's not a necessity. हो सकता है कोई bias or vested interest हो ही ना.
जी सर.
कोई इंडिपेंडेंट रिसर्चर होते हैं आमतौर पे, उनकी कोई बायस और वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट नहीं होता. सो ओनली मेंशन दिस बायस और वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट when you can identify it, otherwise you don't need to mention it. What if the quotation we want to quote is a little long, so we can just pick and choose the main chunk of the quotation? This is not a very good practice. I know what you are talking about. You are talking about when people do this, they do this, okay? The charity is ding 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 ding, and at least that, something like that. So you're talking about that, right? When people do that, yeah. No, it saves time, sure, but it's not a very good practice. It is something that can be, can mislead the examiner. One thing can annoy the examiner. कि भाई अच्छा, this person can't even be bothered to write the entire statement. And why you want to save space? You can use extra sheet. I've told multiple times. Why go use extra sheet? Don't worry about it. Students
सर पेपर
often
में एक्स्ट्रा शीट मांगे तो नाम शाम लिखते हुए सारा कुछ करते हुए बहुत टाइम लग जाता है.
नाम शाम लिखते हुए टाइम लग जाता है.
सर नाम, कैंडिडेट नंबर, सेंटर नंबर, नंबर ऑफ एक्स्ट्रा शीट्स यूज्ड, सिलेबस कंपोनेंट टाइटल, सारा लिखना होता है.
Still, I think you can manage it within 30 seconds. All of it. All of it can be managed within 30 seconds. Like, you can basically count. Less than 30 seconds. So now, I don't think this is something which should be compromised. That
सर जो क्वेश्चन के नीचे खाली जगह है उसको भी यूज कर सकते हैं.
ये मैं बताऊंगा आपको।
मतलब वो जो स्क्वायर वाली शेप के अंदर ही हो, ऐसा
ये
होना
मैं
चाहिए, स्कैन होना
जस्ट I'll incorporate it to using the paper. Okay, I'll explain it. Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the uh, next question. This is a significance question. 8 marks, very important. And सोर्स वन और टू में से आमतौर पे पूछा जाता है आपसे कि भाई बताएं कि वन सिग्निफिकेंट फैक्टर, और जो फैक्टर होता है, इट कैन बी अ कॉज, इट कैन बी अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस, इट कैन बी एन इम्पैक्ट, अ बेनिफिट, एडवांटेज, डिसएडवांटेज, कुछ भी हो सकता है, इट कैन बी एनी फैक्टर. और देन यू आर ऑल्सो आस्क्ड टू एक्सप्लेन और elaborate why this is a very significant factor. अच्छा, अब इसमें there are multiple mistakes that students make in a question in which getting 8 marks is very easy. Uh, the first thing they do is okay, because this question is framed like this. ये देखें ना, this question की जो framing है थोड़ी सी, वो ऐसे होती है. Sources 1 and 2 suggest causes of hunger. एंड माशाल्लाह से हमें ट्रिगर राइटिंग की इतनी ज़्यादा आदत पड़ चुकी है कि वी जस्ट रीड दिस एंड स्टार्ट राइटिंग कॉजेज ऑफ हंगर. एंड every time someone does that, I give myself a big face palm कि ये क्या हो रहा है भाई. This is just a statement. This is not the question. The question is line 2. Which cause of hunger do you think is the most significant? Explain why. This is just the examiner directing you towards source 1 and 2. All right. So the mistake that you students usually make is कि वो पहले काफ़ी ज़्यादा लिस्ट कर देते हैं फैक्टर्स को, फिर वो उन फैक्टर्स की जस्टिफिकेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं. और जस्टिफिकेशन में भी द मिस्टेक दे मेक इज कि 10, 11, 12, 13 पॉइंट्स जस्टिफिकेशन की डिफाइन करने में लिख देते हैं, और उनमें से एक भी डेवलप पॉइंट नहीं होता. यू हैव टू डेवलप ऑल द टिंग टिंग से बढ़ता हूँ मैं. You have to develop all the points that you mention. How many points you need to mention? 4 or 5. So identify one factor, singular, one factor. I don't know. I cannot stress this enough. One factor, not two, not three. Some people say, I believe this and this. Even that is wrong. Don't do that. One factor, just one. After that, follow that up with 4 to 5 developed points. Yes, this is important. जो उसकी रीजनिंग होगी, वो अगर आप 5 पॉइंट्स करते हैं टू बी सेफ, तो वो 5 डेवलप्ड पॉइंट्स, हवाई पॉइंट्स ना. Developing points make it. If you just write, yes, if you just write 8 to 9 or 10 reasons without developing, you will not get full marks. You might get 5, but not 8. And keep a lookout on source 2. Source 2 एक बड़ी ही इंपॉर्टेंट और ट्रिकी सोर्स है. आमतौर पे इस क्वेश्चन के लिए आपको a lot of information source 2 से मिल जाएगी. And we will have a look at the sample answer before. But एक और यहाँ पे ना मैं आपको एक टिप देना चाह रहा हूँ कि before selecting the factor, देखिए what we often do is कि हम वो factor select करते हैं जो हमें लगता है most significant है, लेकिन there is a possibility कि जो factor हम select कर रहे हैं as the most significant factor, वो factor ऐसा हो जिसके ऊपर हम 5 डेवलप्ड पॉइंट्स लिख ही ना सकें. सो बिफोर चूजिंग अ फैक्टर, क्विकली डू द मैथ इन योर माइंड, और साइड पे एक नोट कर लें कि क्या आप 5 सिग्निफिकेंट फैक्टर इस पॉइंट्स के बारे में लिख सकेंगे कि नहीं लिख सकेंगे, 4 या 5? ओके, now let's have a look at a sample answer. Source 1 and 2 suggest causes of hunger. Which cause of hunger do you think is the most significant? Explain why. Unemployment is the most significant cause of hunger, in my opinion. The cause of hunger that affects the most people globally is unemployment, especially in developing countries where people cannot find work. Now, developing countries where people cannot find work and they often move to cities, often there are not enough jobs in the cities for everyone migrating. So poverty and hunger continue. Now, this is basically one point. Unemployment also has the greatest impacts on people and families. Not enough income means food cannot be afforded and malnutrition results. This creates poor health for children who cannot grow properly and do not attend school. Now, this is the second point, and he has now linked the second point to the third point. Lack of education and qualification causes long term unemployment and the vicious cycle of disadvantage, yet disadvantages continue. Unemployment, unemployment therefore affects many different aspects of people's life for a long time. The food charity in Source 2 supports this point of view. So he found the support for his chosen factor in the source. Source 2 is a gold mine actually. When the author, source 2, अभी हम उसमें भी मैं आपको बताऊंगा, जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 है उसमें भी यूज होती है. When the author talks about education and employment being destroyed by hunger, this is why unemployment is the most significant cause. This cause of hunger is also the most difficult problem to solve. Now this is his fifth point. Large amounts of money are needed to invest in business to create jobs for people. If the government is not very rich and the economy is not good, then there will be little money to spend on the new jobs, and it will take years for poor people to find a job because they are affordable. So hunger persists. Now, you see 4 to 5 points developed, different point of views covered, source used, full marks easily, 8 on 8. If instead you just list multiple factors, you probably will not get 8 marks. No, you definitely will not get 8 marks. Okay, so that's the end of question one. Any questions relating to question one? It's not essential to mention source. You can relate it to other factors, yes. Overwriting is how you do overwriting is okay. Basically, uh, अगर आप कटिंग करते हैं, so there are two ways to. So let's say this is a word that you want to cut. So either just one line through the entire word, all right, or cover the word in brackets on both sides and put small crosses on the top. Small crosses. अगर आप वो जो आम कटिंग होती है, ये वाली करेंगे, तो again that's also very annoying for the examiner. Don't do that. Okay, where did we go? Yeah, questions about source 2. uh how we are not going to move to the 70 out of 70 script before finishing all the questions, but I mean it will probably be tomorrow. But yeah, any more questions about question number 1? No more questions about question number 1. You're all very, very clear, absolutely clear. Any suggestions, anything you want?
सर ये स्लाइड भेज दें व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे.
Okay, what? mm, Slides and recording. Okay, anything else? I will upload the recording. Yes. Okay. Sample answers. Sample answers regarding sample answers regarding the question one, part two, and part C and D, right? Part C and D, right? That can that can be managed surely. Okay, Asnath, sorry, I did not see your notification. G, no more. All clear. Moving on to question number two. All right, good. Okay. Safe. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna play this. It's going to be. It's going to help you understand. This is just like a slideshow, and this is okay. So, strengths and weaknesses question. I'm just going to describe it from with the help of the slideshow. All right. This is question number 2A, and it is of 8 marks. And the question is based on source 3. All right. सोर्स 3 की जो सारी डिस्क्रिप्शन होती है उसके ऊपर ये पेस्ट होता है. Alright. Now moving on. Okay. Past papers जब आप लोग कर रहे होते when you are doing the past papers, so you will often come across a question like this. Okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the argument supporting this claim? But this is the. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, cool. So, but this used to be the pattern up till 2024. अब से ये नहीं आता. This does not come anymore. Uh, now they ask you to basically evaluate the research. So now, yeah. So this is how the question comes now. Up till 2028 now, this is basically the pattern. Okay. Explain the strengths and weaknesses of the research outlined, or the research carried out, or the research uh, that happened in source 3. Any types of wording can be used, but they are asking you about the research कि जो source 3 के अंदर जो किसी बंदे ने, किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने, किसी स्टूडेंट ने, किसी टीचर ने, किसी प्रोफेसर ने, whoever has carried out some research, किसी एनजीओ ने, and they are asking you to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of that research. It's very simple. Now, for this question, you have to review the source 3 very carefully, or you can always make small pointers. And I already see some of the students doing this. Okay, when they are making in source 3, when they are going through source 3, so they start making small pointers at the beginning. This is a very good practice कि शुरू में ही जब वो पहली दफा सोर्स को पढ़ रहे होते हैं for the first time, 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, तो इस क्वेश्चन के पॉइंटर्स वो उसी वक्त बनाना शुरू कर देते छोटे छोटे कि यार अच्छा ये गलती, ये मिस्टेक, ये वो है फलाना है, क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चन तो आना ही आना है ना 100%, और 100% it is going to be based in source 3 यार, माशाल्लाह. Okay, so then let's look at this source. Let's read this source. Let's take a couple of minutes, 2 minutes. आप एक दफा ये source पढ़ लें. Have you gone through the source? Read it carefully. This is important. uh, so there are a lot of things के जो के students often do not notice in this. Okay. Let's move forward. Let's see a sample response. This, all right. This line, the first line, this is important. The research has more weaknesses as compared to strengths. If it has more strengths, then you say that the research has more strengths as compared to weaknesses. If you feel that it's balanced, then you just say the research has both strengths and weaknesses. All right. Now, let's have a look at, first of all, at the response. First of all, the research methods are limited to interviews. It's a weakness, which means that the scope of research is very limited and the type of data required would also be very limited. There is no research question which could have given a direction to the overall research. There were disturbances when the interview was taking place, meaning the data could be incomplete. And furthermore, as the sample size is so small, there is no way to cross check and analyze the data. I'm going to repeat this. There were disturbances when the interview was taking place. Now, this is something very important. The examiner judges your response based on this often. Why? Because this is a circumstantial weakness. This is not a regular weakness. This weakness only originated in this particular case. I'm going to go back to this. There were gardeners from the project working near to where the interview took place. Sometimes this made it difficult to hear. जिन लोगों ने याद किए होते हैं, रट्टे लगाए होते हैं उनके strengths और weaknesses वाले, they will not be able to identify this particular weakness. So always be on the lookout for circumstantial strength or a circumstantial weakness in the source. हमेशा होती है कोई ना कोई circumstantial strength or some circumstantial weakness. And mentioning that is very important. I have never seen an a student get 8 out of 8 marks in the script without mentioning circumstantial भी अभी हो सकता है कोई दे भी दे मैं अभी ये नहीं कह रहा कि नहीं देंगे बट मैंने नहीं देखा जब भी अच्छा कोई रिस्पांस देखा है जो प्रिंसिपल एग्जामिनर ने शेयर किया है तो उसके अंदर सर्कमस्टांशियल वीकनेस और सर्कमस्टांशियल स्ट्रेंथ होती सर्कमस्टांशियल वीकनेसेस आर मोर कॉमन एज कंपेयर टू सर्कमस्टांशियल स्ट्रेंथ्स ऑलराइट The interviewee had an obvious bias and vested interest as well, which further reduces the authenticity of the research. The information is also an extract from a student's diary, which is a weakness as well. Finally, there's no statistical data or factual evidence included to strengthen up the research findings. However, the research also has some strengths. First of all, the research was conducted after obtaining ethical permission from the manager. Ethical considerations are always a strength. There is a clear aim of the research, and during the interview, the researcher kept taking notes to ensure that data doesn't get lost. The source person is personally involved in the issue and has had personal experience in the field, and there is also a quotation added from the interview which adds to the research strength of the research. Uh, Now, keep in mind, okay, when you are attempting this question, the there can be a ways of attempt number of strengths and weaknesses. Bias क्या होगा? What do you mean by bias? अच्छा, so you are asking what's the bias? Oh, so She operates in this business. That's the bias na. It's basically both bias and uska apna business hai, and then when you're doing a case study on her work, you're doing the case study on her work. Getting my point? आप उसी के काम के ऊपर केस स्टडी कर रहे हैं, तो वो अपने काम को, she will not throw bad shade on her own work, so that's why she is biased. Okay, let's have a look in another sample. All right, we're going to have a look in another sample. It's from the same question. It's another sample. कहने का मतलब ये कि एक ही क्वेश्चन को एक ही सोर्स को मल्टीपल वे से भी अप्रोच किया जाता है, एंड देन यू कैन आल्सो गेट good mark. Let's have a look at this response. There are several strengths of the source. The first strength is the ethical approach of the research. She asked for permission to do the research and was honest about it. There was no secret gathering of information, and everything about the research was clear and open to Mrs. Bloom. She was not being deceived or exploited, and the research followed the ethical guidelines. Another strength was that the interview was with an expert in action about hunger from organization working in a food project about reducing hunger. Mrs. Blum had long-term relevant experience in managing a food project related to the research question. She has first-hand evidence and the ability to know about the topic, so her testimony is likely to be credible and true. However, the student only interviewed one person. Although this was in depth and likely to be valid evidence, her opinion may not be shared by other people working on the project or taking action about the work. The interview evidence may not be representative of all the people, and so it cannot be used to generalize with the confidence. This is a serious weakness. A wider range of people should have been interviewed. Okay, there is also some other weaknesses. Okay. Now, how many marks should this person get? This person. How many marks should this person get? Okay. Okay. So, what can be the what is the weakness? What are identify two weaknesses in her response? You are right. 6 marks. It's 6 out of 8. Yes, you are correct. Two weaknesses that she did not. मतलब क्या चीजें उसने cover नहीं की? Yes. Okay. Fine. Other and एक तो she is repetitive. She repeats the same points a couple of times. Also, she fails to identify the circumstantial weakness. जो circumstantial weakness थी कि किधर गया, yeah, sorry, ये जो circumstantial weakness थी that sometimes it made it hard for people to hear. एक तो इसने ये identify नहीं किया, first thing. Second thing कि she did not mention obviously, and third thing is कि she was repetitive, as you can see कि shared by other people. Visible may bias is evidence applicable. It might not be applicable to wider range of organizations. She's saying the same thing multiple times. All right. So while it's not bad, but yeah, she is not likely to get full marks for this response. Now let's move on to the testing a claim, your favorite. All right. Testing a claim is basically question number 2B. It's of 8 marks, and the claim that is taken from is the claim is taken from source 3. ठीक है, यहाँ पे जो claim है, it is taken from source 3. लेकिन this is something very important to note here, that while the claim might be taken from source D, the response has nothing to do with source 3. इस क्वेश्चन का जो रिस्पॉन्स है, जैसे क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 पार्ट ए का जो रिस्पॉन्स है, इट हैज एवरीथिंग टू डू विद सोर्स 3. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 पार्ट बी में जो वो है रिस्पॉन्स है, दिस हैज नथिंग टू डू विद सोर्स 3. You have to formulate the answer on your own. Now, इस क्वेश्चन के अंदर भी एक चेंज आई है एंड अ वेरी वेलकम चेंज. आई लाइक दिस चेंज. बेसिकली before they used to ask is ke how could you test this claim, you may consider the types of information, the sources of evidence, or methods you might use. And I always used to wonder that types of information and sources of evidence, these are things that overlap with each other. How is student supposed to make two different paragraphs about this? So, or two different मतलब pointers based on this. मतलब I did not like it. So it's a good change that they changed it. I don't know whether they read my mind or something. But now it's this. Now they have changed it to just the research methods and evidence. And this is good because evidence means types of information used. I don't know why they were saying types of information and evidence before. So it's finally something which is very easy to explain and easy to answer and makes a lot of sense. All right. Now, research method and evidence should be used in combination with each other. This is very important. कहने का मतलब ये कि बहुत से लोग अक्सर what they say is कि we should conduct interviews, we should do surveys, we should observe people, we can help, we can do online research. भाई किसका इंटरव्यू करने जा रहे हो, सर्वे किसका करने जा रहे हो, who are going, you are going to ask questions to in the questionnaire, on what topic are you going to do the online research. So you see both the sides, the research methods and the evidence. For example, if you are going to say something like we are going to conduct we are going to interview an expert. तो बताना ना expert कौन है भाई. If we are talking about medicine, तो expert would be a doctor. If you are saying कि we are going to conduct survey, तो किसका survey लोगे भाई? Local people, or you are going to conduct the survey of, let's say, teenagers, or you are going to conduct the survey of parents, whatever, whoever the your target people is. That's your source of evidence. Keep in mind. All right. Now let's see if we can. Yes. Now coming to the approach of this. The examiner is basically asking you that if such a scenario or such a claim were to present it to you in a real life scenario, how would you test it or verify it? Somebody is asking some questions.
सर अगर
Yes.
अगर हमारे माइंड में एक्सपर्ट का स्पेसिफिकली उसका प्रोफेशन ना ध्यान में आ रहा हो तो मैं एक्सपर्ट को स्किप कर सकते हैं वाले पॉइंट को.
स्किप ना करें, लिख दें. But we are going to consult the experts in the field of this. Write the name of the field.
ठीक है सर.
For example, you're talking about, let's say कि you don't know ना कि agriculture field में expert कौन होता है. So you just write कि we are going to consult the experts in the field of agriculture. Don't just leave it at expert. That doesn't make sense ना.
ओके सर.
So field mention कर दें if you are unable to, if you don't know कि who the expert exactly is. All right. Now keep in mind, the approach of this question is ultra important, and students often get the approach wrong. The approach is that he is asking you that if such a scenario were presented in front of you in real life scenario, how in real life, how are you going to test it? That's what he's asking. He is not asking you to test it. दैट्स द फर्स्ट मिस्टेक दैट स्टूडेंट्स मेक. वो अपनी तरफ से टेस्ट करना शुरू कर देते हैं. आई बिलीव दिस claim is true, I think that this and that, falana said this, falana said this. Or they start repeating the source 3, which is again a terrible mistake. Now let's have a look. I'm not even going to have a look at the source. What is this? Now this is source 3, but like I said, the source 3 is completely irrelevant. Just that sentence is relevant. कि उस सेंटेंस की नेचर क्या है, लोकल नेचर है, ग्लोबल नेचर है, या नेशनल नेचर है. अब वो जो लोकल, ग्लोबल या नेशनल नेचर है, उसका मतलब ये होता है कि देन what kind of people you are going to target. All right. Yeah, some tips, easy, nothing too hard. Quickly, devise a plan of action and consider that for every plan, for every pointer, you must have a method, you must have a evidence. Then you must consider both the primary and secondary research methods. Keep in mind that restricting to just one source of one point of action or one type of research method is not cool. And also make sure that your plan of action is applicable to the claim. Once again, हमने कुछ चीज़ें याद कर ली होती हैं, और let's say your claim is of global nature, कि globally politicians are usually friends with each other even though their countries might be at war. चलो ये let's say this is the claim. अब इस claim में अगर आप लिख रहे हैं, if you are writing we are going to interview the local people, what are the local people going to say about this? We are going to take a survey of the local people. They are not going to, that is not going to help you. So before writing every point, make sure that whatever you are doing is relevant. Don't write irrelevant stuff, right? Then do not start chasing the claim. This simply means that you do not start answering, yes, this claim is true, yes, this claim is untrue. He is not asking you to tell him whether the claim is true or untrue. He is only asking you to test the claim. That's it. No, devise a plan to test the claim, basically, not even test the claim. Do not try to prove the claim right or wrong, and do not look for answer in the source. Yes, source is irrelevant for this question. Completely irrelevant. Okay, this is a good response because I wrote it myself. Many people enjoy growing their own food. Explain how this claim could be tested. You should consider the research method and evidence that would be used. All right. So this claim could be tested in a variety of ways. We can approach relevant experts of the field. Now, Hadi, does that answer your question? कि सर अगर हमें relevant experts का नाम नहीं पता तो हम क्या करेंगे? We are just going to mention their field or what they do.
जी सर.
We can approach the relevant experts of the field, people who grow their own food, and ask them whether they enjoy doing so or not. The individual testimony of these experts would be a strong indicator of the validity of this claim. We can create a questionnaire or a survey. We can create a questionnaire or a survey online to reach a bigger sample. Statistical responses of the analysis of the responses can be used to test this claim as well. Observing the attitudes of the people who grow their own food can also be a good indicator towards confirming or rejecting the claim. Coming towards secondary research methods. Now, we are done with the primary. We now are moving to the secondary research methods. Articles on the internet. Which articles relevant to the topic can give a good idea to a researcher, but in order to solidify his or her conclusion, it is important to review research reports and case studies published by official authorities and governments. This is a very good statement. ये स्टेटमेंट याद कर लें आप लोग. मैं तो कहता हूँ ये वाली जो स्टेटमेंट मैंने लिखी है ना, मुझे खुद ही लग रही है बहुत, मैंने इतनी अच्छी स्टेटमेंट कैसे लिख दी? Articles on the internet relevant to the topic can give a good idea to a researcher, but in order to solidify his or her conclusion, it is important to review research reports and case study published by official authorities and governments. This also gives additional authenticity to your verdict. Data from pressure groups. Pressure groups क्या होती हैं? जो कि गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर किसी न किसी तरह का प्रेशर बनाए रखते हैं. Charities and NGOs is also valuable in this case as it can give an outside perspective to the research. So if we combine the quantitative and qualitative data and information that has been extracted through these methods, it should give us provide us with enough evidence to test this claim that whether most people enjoy growing their food or not. Quantitative and qualitative is also something that you can mention, but however, it is not a necessity. But mentioning the difference between secondary and primary research methods is very important and should fetch you full marks. Okay. Do we have another sample? No. Okay. Let's move back to the PPT. Another sample. All right. Now, test this claim. Most people enjoy growing their own food. You should gather primary and secondary evidence using several different methods. Very good start. Primary evidence can be gathered using interviews with gardeners to find out the reasons for growing food and the benefits they find from this way of getting food. This will explain why growing food is seen as a good thing. Next, a survey of many people about how often and how much food they grow would get relevant information. A representative sample of several hundred people taken from different parts of the world using a short questionnaire posted online would test this claim. If most people in the survey grew their own food and said it was enjoyable, then the claim would be assumed to be true in most countries and therefore globally. Secondary evidence from research and sources on the internet would also be used to test the claim. The research questions needs statistical evidence about the opinions of the people about growing their own food, so past research into gardening production will be applicable. The result of large surveys with many people would give numerical data that would give insights into how many people like and enjoy growing food. Surveys that were done by reputable organizations with expertise in research into food could be analyzed. I would look for reports from universities and governments that had given evaluate by peer review published. This would give confidence in the results as evidence to test the claim. Large surveys are also more likely to be accurate and provide balanced evidence from people with different views, giving us a deeper understanding of the background to the claim. Comparing the information gathered from each method would be needed. If the different types of evidence and methods give a similar result, then the claim could be proved or disproved with confidence. Similar outcomes would reinforce the conclusion. All right. Did you understand? This response was slightly lengthier and at, at times you can say that some points were not developed, but overall still it covered all the uh, angles, and I believe this should still get full marks. Now, any questions about question number 2? Any questions about question number 2? No questions. I would recommend balance only there is. If the source is obviously if the it is obviously weak, then you can highlight more weaknesses than strengths. And if it is all obviously very strong, then you can go for more strengths than weaknesses. But yes, if it's something you can see कि अच्छा कुछ strengths हैं कुछ weaknesses हैं, then you can go for balance, but really that's not the case. balance Balanced sources are less common comparatively. आती हैं but ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं आती. In testing the claim, should we also tell from where information is extracted, for example, Google Scholars and etc. When you are saying journal articles, it obviously means, okay, that you are going to refer to a proper source. Google Scholar is a basically search engine, not a source. You do not have to mention your search engines if that's what you're asking. Okay, guys. Yes, yes, of course it is. You observe people and you see how they are reacting under certain circumstances. For example, let's say the claim is that students uh, in boys only schools are more rowdy as compared to students in co-curricular co-schools, right? So one of the best ways to actually test this that claim would be uh, observation. We need to observe their behavior, and I believe it's true. When boys are in just boys only school, they are a bit rowdier as compared to co-schools. Can we mention the name of organization in testing claim? We can, yes, of course, no problem. It should be relevant. Be careful. You're talking about health, then World Health Organization, sure, but don't say that. Let's say we are talking about uh, education and you start mentioning UNHRC, so that would be ridiculous. Don't do that. Mention UNESCO. So if you are sure about the organization, yes, you can, by maintaining a good sample size and gender equality. What is that question? By maintaining a good sample size and gender equality. I don't understand that question. Or is this an answer to something? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Observation is definitely a very strong means of testing different claims. I mean, of course, it is dependent upon the claim, and especially if you have the affected or affectees at hand, then yes, observation is a good point. All right. So let's move to question number three now. We are going to keep it to question number three for today. Tomorrow we are going to discuss question number four, the alternative question number four, and the 70 out of 70 script. And I'm going to incorporate these points. Sample, I have provided you with some samples, but I can provide you with more samples, I guess. Okay, where is, yeah. So, okay, let's critically analyze this sample of question 3. All right, let's do that. I'm going to give you guys full 5 minutes. Then I'm going to ask you about the mistakes in this particular. Not 5 minutes, 3 minutes, I guess. But let's critically analyze this first. Let's start with this. Yes. So, how many marks this person should get out of 16? Okay. What the hell? Hmm, पहला guess ही. Okay. Other? Anyone else? Come on. 6, 7. Haris Ilyas. Are you? Mm, that's brutal. 1450. Oh no, 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 guys. Come on. Seriously. 1415?
11-12 नंबर से.
11. Okay. 0. No. 11 and 12 is fine. Yes. Because while the content was not bad, she had the person had, I don't know if it's a she or he. I'm just, he had or she had major uh, structuring issues, and it was also that there was no balance, right? There was a lack of balance, and the paragraphing was haywire. That's also a big issue, right? Now, so these are some uh, common mistakes that students do in this particular question. सबसे पहली बात तो they are unable to keep a balance between strengths and weaknesses. वो बैलेंस मैं अभी आपसे डिस्कस करता हूँ. दूसरा, स्ट्रक्चरिंग इज इम्प्रॉपर. स्ट्रक्चर भी अभी मैं, I'll just show you how to properly structure it. And referring to the source has to be done in a particular way in this question. You cannot just regurgitate the stuff. It has to be done in a very particular way. And overlapping and repetition, ये भी एक बहुत बड़ी गलती है. And finally, yes, make examiner's life easy. Please do not answer it in a way that examiner बेचारा सोच ही रहा हो यार ये चीज कहाँ से है, ये चीज कहाँ से no. Make examiner's life easy. So let me show you how to make examiner's life easy. All right. Now, this question is based on source 4. Our source 4 is basically an argument between two people. Usually, those two people are are defending opposite perspectives, and there are like two paragraphs or three paragraphs each in both of their argumentation. Right? The marks for this source are ranged from 14 to 16. However, since March 2025, the marks have not deviated from 16. यानी जो इसकी रेंज थी वो पहले 14 to 16 होती थी, but from March 2025 onwards the marks have not deviated from 16. It's always 16 marks, 16 marks, 16 marks, 16 marks, 16 marks in all the variants. Right? In this question, structure is very important, just as important as content. Content, whatever. Okay. Now, first you do is you thoroughly review source 4 and make a judgment regarding whose argument is more convincing. पहले आप ये decide कर लें कि किसका argument आपको ज़्यादा convincing लग रहा है. अब यहाँ पे दो सिनेरियोज आते हैं. पहला सिनेरियो ये होता है कि the arguments are apparently very lopsided. यानी one side is obviously very strong and one side is weak. तो यहाँ पे तो सिलेक्ट करना बड़ा आसान हो जाता है. But in many cases, what happens is that arguments are very close to each other. The strengths and weaknesses of the arguments are very close to each other. ऐसे scenario में, you can select either side. It doesn't matter. As long as you justify it properly, you can select either side. Right? Okay. Let's have a look at this particular source. Let's go through it. There's a revolution in food production. My father, okay, my father. Source of bias or vested interest आ गया. He says that more can be produced. My new technologies can solve. Self-driving tractors linked to satellites can work all day. Computers do that. This farmer helps. Okay. I think people, there is almost no fact, there is no evidence, no reference, no refer to any particular thing. It's very opinionated. Now coming to Seth, industrial farming is not the solution to hunger. It is prohibited environment. Rainforest. He is mentioning examples already. He has a upper hand against her. We lose many plants. Climate change. We need a clear, greener approach. Farming should. Magazine. He refers to a magazine in New Zealand. Oh, sorry, New Internationalist. Cause hungers. Mexico gave more examples. Then mentions United Nations Food Program. And all right, so yeah, none of the arguments are very strong, but comparatively Seth's argument is more strong. Grace is full of opinions all the way, and she also has uh, some vested interest. Okay, so now let's look at this sample response. All right, the sample response is very compact. I believe Seth's argument is more convincing as compared to Grace. First of all, he uses a variety of evidence in support of his argument. For example, he mentions case studies on two different countries from a magazine. He also mentions that a reputable organization, i.e., United Nations, also supports his point of view on the topic. All right, this is good. Furthermore, he gives an example of a country, South Africa, to strengthen his case. He has a clear stance on the topic and he uses relevant examples and strong arguments to back it up. His line of reasoning is clear and effective, and he is also enthusiastic about the issue. That can be seen from this last two lines where he is pushing everyone to take action. However, there are also some weaknesses in his argument. He doesn't consider the global scenario, which means a lack of global perspective on the issue. At times, he has used generalizations in his over enthusiasm, and many of his evidence are not properly referenced, which takes away some authenticity from them. Did you notice something in this paragraph? इस पैराग्राफ में कोई बात नोटिस की आपने? Did you notice something in this paragraph? Anything? What did you notice? Nice. Uh, did you see any mention of grace in the first paragraph? Yes, exactly. When you are evaluating Seth's argument, stick to Seth. This is making life easy for your examiner. Your examiner does not have to move to and fro. अच्छा जी वो क्या कह रही थी वो? You make two paragraphs, two compact paragraphs, one about the person you agree with and their strengths and weaknesses, and the second about the person, sorry, not agree with, who you do not find convincing, and their strengths and weaknesses. This is not about, हमेशा याद रखिएगा, this question is not about agreement, it's about who you find convincing. Okay, now coming to the second part. Okay, now coming to Grace, there is very little use of evidence to support her claim, as she relies on opinions for the most part. She also assumes a lot of things without mentioning any proper reasoning for those assumptions. Furthermore, she is mentioning technological trends whose validity and affordability are not known yet. Due to the involvement of her father, it is possible that her argument is biased and there might be vested interest for her in this matter as well. Her argument is also devoid of any statistical information to back her claim. However, there are some strengths to her argumentation. She is experienced in the field on account of her father, and she also used a lot of examples to support her claim. Her values are clear and easy to understand, and from her argumentation, it is also clear that she understands the topic at hand. By analyzing and evaluating the points mentioned above, it's clear that Seth's argument is more convincing as compared to his. Yes, the conclusion in this topic, in this question, does not hold any value, but it is needed so the examiner knows that you have ended the question. Keep in mind, this is very important. एक जो what we will discuss tomorrow, the conclusion in question number 4. There the conclusion is very important, because there the conclusion is basically giving you a summary of the question. Here conclusion is just like, you're using it as a full stop to tell the examiner that you are done with your evaluation. That's it. Itni hi importance hai is conclusion, bas, because you have already mentioned in line 1, in the very first line, that I believe that argument is more convincing as compared to Grace. Always do that. First line. क्वेश्चन नंबर 4, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 पार्ट डी, इन तीनों क्वेश्चंस में पहली पहली लाइन में आपने बता देना है कि वेयर डू यू स्टैंड, what is your preferred course of action for question number 4. For question number 3, which whose argument is more convincing, in very first line. For question number 1 part D, which is the most significant factor, in very first line. Always remember, ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव के अंदर वेरी फर्स्ट लाइन के अंदर ही आपने ये अपना मेंशन करके उसको फॉलो अप देना है फिर. गॉट इट? आई विल टेक क्वेश्चंस फॉर ऑल 3 parts now. Any questions, guys? Or is that clear? Any suggestions, anything you need, anything you want from for tomorrow's session, something that you feel for question number 4 might be important to be included? All clear?
सर जो आपने आज एग्जांपल दिखाई है वो आपने पहले भी एक क्लास में दिखाई है, तो कल आप कोई और एग्जांपल के साथ हमें समझा देंगे जो सैंपल आंसर.
The sample answers, tomorrow we are going to do question number 4 first of
सर
all.
आपने एक दफा पहले भी क्लास की थी, उसमें आपने क्वेश्चन फोल्ड कर दिया, कहते हैं डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन के साथ आप हमें समझा दें.
No, I get that, but the thing is that you're just asking for multiple samples now. वो तो
Yes.
already I have noted down कि I'm going to provide you multiple samples. That's not the point. My point is कि what for मतलब if there is something that you didn't understand, samples का तो मैंने लिख ही लिया already. So if I want to practice past papers, how far back should I go before they become outdated? Uh, they don't become outdated, but as far back as 2022, 2021, but जो strengths and weaknesses वाला सवाल है और जो perspectives वाला question, they become outdated beyond question beyond 2025. तो वो आपको recent ही करना पड़ेगा. How to attempt when only one statement is given and there is no choice. I will cover this tomorrow. How to attempt question number 4 when only one statement. You are talking about the discussion question. I will cover this tomorrow. What is the Cambridge curveball? I will cover this tomorrow. Sir, if I want to practice pass ho gaya. Sir, will you discuss? Yes, of course I will cover. Question number 4, both types कल discuss होंगे sir? Yes, of course they will be discussed tomorrow. Sir, can we practice from GCSE GP का paper? Yes, you can discuss. Both are same. GCSE and O level, sorry, 2069 and 0457 are practically the same. There is no difference. Sir, when is the paper? 6th of May. Bro, you are about to be kicked from the session. Stop. Uh, G, any more queries? No more queries? We can wrap it up. All good? Stop presenting.
सर 6 को स्कूल खुलेगा ना?